Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is talk about I guess what you might call the case of the missing watch. It's about John Lennon's Patek Philippe 2499. It was given to him by his wife, Yoko Ono, back in 1980. Shortly thereafter, he was murdered. And the watch itself, the Patek Philippe 2499, was first, I think, developed in 1950. And the remarkable thing about it was that it was both a perpetual calendar and a chronograph. They hadn't been able to do that before. The movement is a caliber 13130. It was hand wound, 18,000 semi-oscillation per hour, my speed, 42-hour reserve. And one of the things about this watch is that Yoko Ono bought it for her husband at Tiffany's, and the watch has both Patek Philippe and Tiffany logos. Here's a shot of it with what it looked like when the time on his birthday when John Lennon got it. He had a picture of it taken October 9th, 1980. And then also you can see the watch itself and the engraving on the back. It said, "Just like starting over, love Yoko, 10/9/1980, NYC, New York City." The thing about that was that they had gone sort of almost like a funny, very strange relationship. They both were seeing other people and they're back together. They were still married. We had a son, Sean, and this watch sort of represented a coming back together. So that was one of the significant things about it. Now the mystery begins with this guy named Corel Carson. And Corel Carson was a chauffeur and a confident, really, and sort of a all-round guy who was trusted by Yoko Ono. And he had been working for over 10 years. And in 2006, he attempted to blackmail her for $2 million and said that if she didn't pay him, that he would expose all of this information and that he had about her and show all of these pictures of, the X-rated pictures of her, I guess, and John. And basically, she reported him to the police, and he was convicted and deported. Now, one of the things was that they knew about him is that he had access to this locked room where they kept the watch. Now, remember that John Lennon didn't have the watch very long because he got it in October, and in December he was murdered. So, and this was back in 1980, and so now we're up in 2006, number of years later, about 26 years later. So now here's where we start following what happened to the watch after Carson took it. Well, after he was convicted, he was deported, and so he went back to Turkey. At the time, there were a lot of things that belonged to John Lennon that were locked up in this room, and other things that were going on, and nobody knew it was gone. We'll get to that later. Again, that becomes important later. So he's deported. He's deported to Turkey for the attempted extortion, and he may have done some time in jail for it. I'm not sure, but anyway. So, but he's gone with a 2499 in 2006. Now, when he was there by 2009, he decided he wanted to buy a house. So he knew this guy who was identified as Erhan G in Germany. Now he was a fellow Turk, but he was living in Germany, and so he told him about the watch and said, could would you be interested in buying it? Well, there was some question about, this thing is, looks a little dicey. And he said, oh, no, it's fine. It was given to me as a gift by Yoko Ono. And the guy says, look, here's what we'll do. He says, I'll give you a loan for the amount of money that you want for the watch, and I'll simply hold on to the watch as collateral. That'll work. Never expecting to get paid back. So what happened then was that a few years later, in 2013, Erhan shows the watch to a guy named John Oliver. And he was a watch executive for a company called Auctionata. And Auctionata was one of the very early online auction houses. And at the time, by 2013, it doesn't seem that long ago, but I guess in terms of having auction houses really in action that were online, there weren't that many successful ones. So anyway, what he wanted, Oliver Hoffman wanted for Auctionata, was to get the watch and then advertise the John Lennon watch being auctioned off. So what they did, he contacted Patek Philippe and got what was called an extract document. And the extract document has all of the stolen Patek Philippes. Well, this watch was not on the list, so they figured, well, it must be okay. And so that would be the next thing to do. Now, he wasn't going to, the idea that Erhan had wasn't to auction it off. He just wanted the money for it. And so what they did was sort of interesting. This is up to 2014. Oliver Hoffman from Auctionata sets up a private treaty. Now, this was something I didn't know about it. Private treaty is some deal that they make with a collector. So it's not going to be public. Okay, auctions are very public. So Mr. A wanted the watch, but he didn't want to get it through an auction. So what he did, he said, look, he had a bunch of Rolexes and he had some Patek Philippes, which at the time were probably at least equal to, and even more so in terms of bringing the amount of money in, than the Lennon 2499. So then it became a property of this collector named Mr. A. I love these names. Now he's called Mr. A. It'll come up in this court hearing that later on, and the Swiss have a rule that they don't give the surname of the person who's being tried because they haven't been convicted. Anyway, in 2014, Mr. A is now the owner of the Lennon Patek Philippe 2499. So that's the next step that happened to him. Now, following that, the Mr. A takes the Patek 2499 to Christie's in Switzerland. So now it's gone from Germany to Switzerland, and he wants it appraised. So Christie contacts Yoko Ono's lawyer and says, we have this watch that is claimed to belong to John Lennon. It has this engraving on the back, which of course it was the unique aspect of it that they could identify it with. And is this one that was somehow either sold or given to somebody? And they said no. In fact, they went into this locked room where they keep all of these things, and it was gone. And so going back to Carson, he claimed the watch had been given as a gift to him by Yoko Ono in 2005. All right, so they said, well, it looks like it belongs to Yoko Ono. And so Mr. A, here's the guy that had actually paid something for it. Well, I guess Erhan had too, with a non-returnable a loan that he knows isn't going to get paid back. And so he set up a lawsuit against Yoko Ono. Now, this wasn't, he simply said, look, he said the watch had never been recorded or reported as stolen. And so he didn't see why it could belong to anybody else but him, because he got it from all of these what he considered reliable sources. And so, and then during the hearing, Kassan said that, not only that, but Yoko Ono and he were, passionate lovers and all of this other stuff. And of course, Yoko Ono said it's not true. Anyhow, so the Swiss court said, looks like it belongs to Yoko Ono still. However, Mr. A initiated a lawsuit against Yoko Ono, and from my understanding, he lost it. And so now it's in some kind of appeals, and they don't think so. They think it's going to go back to Yoko Ono. But the interesting thing about this watch is that if it ever does go up for auction, there's a lot of speculation of how much this is going to bring in. So anyway, I would very much like to hear your opinion if you think a watch like this will bring in a lot of money in the same way that Paul Newman's Rolex did. The watch itself, I find it's just a beautiful Patek Philippe. And I know it would be way beyond what I ever could afford, but this is an interesting case. This is my watch story for today. Let me know what you think, and if you have any other information about a similar kind of watch, I'd like to hear it. This is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection.